Welcome back, everyone. The iPhone 13 just officially came out, so you already know we have to compare it against the iPhone 6s and see which specific iPhone you should go and pick up. Now, I will leave an iPhone 13 link down in the description, as well as some other iPhones I'd probably recommend more than the iPhone 6s. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, side by side, you can definitely see the iPhone 6s is a little bit smaller than the iPhone 13. The iPhone 13 has a 6.1-inch OLED panel on the front, which looks beautiful, and I'm a huge fan of this specific phone. I mean, this thing looks so much better than the iPhone 6s. The 6s, on the other hand, has a 4.7-inch IPS panel. Now, like I've mentioned, the panel itself isn't horrible on the 6s. It's not an ugly panel, it's not bad. It just so happens that the iPhone 13 has a much better looking panel for sure. So, if we're talking about panels, the iPhone 13 definitely wins here without a doubt. Now, in terms of the thinness and thickness, you can definitely see that the iPhone 13 is a much thinner panel or much thicker phone than the iPhone 6s. I will be honest though, the 6s is one of the thinnest iPhones, so it's not really fair. But the iPhone 13 is a little bit thicker, but that comes with a bigger battery, which is really nice. And on the back, we have a little bit of a different setup. So the iPhone 6s has an aluminum back on the back, which doesn't even look that bad. It still feels pretty good for a 2015 phone. It still feels pretty premium. The iPhone 13, on the other hand, it does have a glass back, which looks beautiful. You have that dual camera setup on the back of the iPhone 13. You have a single camera setup on the back of the iPhone 6s. So theoretically, you have a very good just type of experience on both of these iPhones. And I will definitely tell you the iPhone 13 is the more premium one without a doubt. We have the power buttons on the side. We have the lightning port at the bottom, speakers, all that good stuff. Now, a big thing to keep in mind is that the iPhone 6s isn't actually technically IP certified. So that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Is that an annoying thing? I mean, it kind of is. The iPhone 13 definitely is the more better one here when it comes down to, the durability and everything. From drop tests and everything that I've seen, you're definitely getting a better experience on something like an iPhone 13. So keep that in mind. Now, on top of that, another big, massive thing to keep in mind is actually the longevity. The iPhone 6s came out in 2015, so this phone's not going to be lasting forever. It's probably getting one more software update, and then that's it. Whereas on the iPhone 13, it's just getting started. It literally just got its first software update literally the other day. It came with iOS 15, that's the latest software. So this thing is not going anywhere anytime soon. If we're talking about longevity between both of these, the iPhone 13 is definitely the better one when it comes down to it without a doubt. So in terms of that covers it up there. Now let's go and do a speed comparison between both of these iPhones. The iPhone 6s has that Apple A9 chip inside of it with 2 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone 13 has that Apple A15 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster iPhone between both of these. Okay, there we go. Let's go and hop out all the apps in the background, so it should only take 1 second. Now, unfortunately, we don't have a crazy amount of apps on the iPhone 6s, which is totally okay, because we can pretty much see which one is going to be the faster one automatically. So let's get into it. Let's do their app stores. 3, 2, 1. And definitely the iPhone 13 was the far faster one here. The 6s definitely took its time, so that was a pretty big difference between the two. Scrolling through here, you can probably tell automatically the iPhone 6s is the faster one. If we go and get into this one, click on both. I mean, there we go. I mean, this one kind of speaks for itself. iPhone 13, again, way faster here. Let's go and get into photos. 3, 2, 1. And to even compare these two is pretty crazy. Just seeing how much faster it is on the iPhone 13 is just so crazy. Settings 3, 2, 1. Now this is a basic application, and for it to even take that long on the iPhone 6s is pretty crazy in my opinion. Hopping out of this one, camera 3, 2, 1. 13 again is the faster one. Hopping out of this one, let's go and get into phone calls 3, 2, 1. And I did mess up here. And even with me messing up and having to click here separately, they almost open at the same spot, which is so funny. Music 3, 2, 1. And the 13 faster here. The 6s is definitely taking a minute. I mean, this is a pretty big difference, to be honest. And this is good. I would like to see these differences. It's not bad for the 6s. It's good for the 13. 3, 2, 1. This is the newest phone. It should have substantial speed improvements from its predecessor. And we can go ahead and end it off with, those ones on the front. We can do mail 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Hopping out of this one, we do have a bunch of these third-party applications. Well, we have some of these third-party apps that we can go and do. So let's get into it. Let's go ahead and do Nova Legacy 3, 2, 1. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different because you can see we were on different panels here. So totally okay. So we are already fully loaded on the iPhone 13, which is great. The iPhone 6s, on the other hand, still kind of stuck on this little panel, which is totally okay. Definitely nothing wrong with that. And you can see, I mean, definitely there was some, so maybe it had a download here. I don't want to take too much away from the success here, but I mean, it's quite obvious to see which one was going to be faster. We have Fruit Ninja we can go and get into. 3, 2, 1. Definitely the 13 I think is the faster one. We do eventually get into it. And let me just go ahead and get out of this panel and let's go ahead and just load up a game. So let's just load up here. Let's click connect, whatever, doesn't matter. We're fully loaded here. And there we go. The success finally got into it. So let's get out of here. Let's go and continue. Now it's striking through. So let's go and get into this game. And you can see even on the iPhone 6s, I mean, just look at the comparison between here and how long it took to load on here. Now let's go and strike out of this one. And you can definitely tell in terms of the graphics. I mean, just look at how much faster you're getting on the iPhone 13 than on the iPhone 6s. I mean, it's just so crazy in terms of this gameplay. So when it comes down to it, I mean, the performance is quite obvious. You're definitely going to be getting a much faster, smoother performing phone from something like an iPhone 13 than something like an iPhone 6s. Is that a big deal? Honestly, it's not surprising to me. I mean, it's quite obvious to see which one is going to be the faster one. But it's still pretty impressive to see the amount of differences in the amount of improvements that we've been getting from one iPhone to the other. So when it comes down to it, I'm a huge fan of both of them. Obviously the 13 more, so that covers it up here. Now let's go ahead on the cameras. Now on the back, like we mentioned before, dual camera setup on the iPhone 13, a 12 megapixel wide and 12 megapixel ultra wide, where the iPhone 6s has a single 12 megapixel wide angle lens. Both can do 4K on the back, but the iPhone 6s can only do 4K at 30. The iPhone 13 can do 4K at 60. And on the front, there's another pretty big difference, 4K at 60 on the front of the iPhone 13, where the iPhone 6s cannot do 4K on the front. Now, one thing that's always surprised me between iPhones is just how similar the UIs are on both. So you can tell that the iPhone 6s pretty much has the same type of UI as the iPhone 13. Now, the iPhone 6s doesn't have nearly as many features. Like I mentioned, no 4K, but you don't have portrait mode or anything on the 6s either. The iPhone 13 at least has this new cinematic mode and it has portrait mode, which is really awesome. Now, I'm probably not going to, showcase too much of these two because they don't have the same features, but that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind. Now, with the iPhone 6s camera, I really don't think it's a tremendous camera anymore. I mean, if you know what you're doing, you can probably get some decent photos out of it, but I mean, it's a pretty outdated sensor. It has a very, just grainy camera overall. And when I compare this photos to even like an iPhone 8 Plus photos, I mean, this thing is pretty, it's pretty outdated. This was the first iPhone to bring 4K, which is really cool, but you're definitely not getting that smooth or great of an experience anymore on the iPhone 6s. On the iPhone 13, on the other hand, you are getting a much better sensor without a doubt. And the best thing is you're getting an ultra-wide sensor as well. So not only is this a better camera sensor, you're getting that ultra-wide sensor, you're getting, a little bit more zooming capability, you're getting that portrait mode, which is literally groundbreaking in and of itself. So that's another really awesome feature. So when it comes down to it, I mean, you're definitely getting an overall better camera sensor on the iPhone 13 without a doubt, and I think that's quite obvious. So now this takes us to the end of the video, and to be honest, when it comes down to both of these iPhones, I like the iPhone 6s. I still think it was actually pretty relevant even up until maybe 2 years ago, but it really isn't a crazy good phone anymore. I mean, it's pretty outdated, and it's on its last leg of software. If it was getting one more version of software, maybe it'd be a little bit of a better device, but we are pretty much at the end of its life cycle, which is pretty sad. Versus something like an iPhone 13, this thing's just getting started, and I'm going to be honest, going from an iPhone 6s to an iPhone 13 is such an insane update. You're getting a very solid phone from an iPhone 13 to an iPhone 6s, and that is a big thing to keep in mind. You don't want to you just never want to upgrade your phone, you know what I mean? Then you'll never get a new one. Between these two, the iPhone 6s is a really solid phone. I would highly recommend it. The iPhone 13 is a tremendous phone too, but when it comes down to both of these, I think the iPhone 13 is a worthwhile upgrade for sure. So that pretty much covers it up. Like I mentioned, if you want to pick up, an iPhone 13 or some other iPhones I'd recommend, links would be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section as well. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.